Months passed, and Earth settled into its new identity as the most terrifying planet. The title became a symbol of both pride and purpose, a reminder of humanity's potential for greatness and its capacity for destruction. People around the world embraced it in their own ways. Some used it to motivate change, while others saw it as a call to action, pushing harder than ever to address the planet's challenges. Clara continued her work, traveling to different countries to speak about unity and resilience. She often thought about the Veil and wondered if they were still watching. Though she never received another message from Mia or anyone else aboard the mothership, she felt their presence in the stars above. Every time she looked up at night, she whispered a silent thank you for showing humanity what it was capable of. Ethan stayed by her side, documenting their journey and sharing stories of hope with the world. Together, they inspired millions to believe in a brighter future. Schools began teaching lessons about the asteroid mission and the Veil's visit, framing them as turning points in human history. Children drew pictures of glowing alien figures and wrote essays about how Earth could become a better place. The changes weren't limited to individuals. Entire nations transformed. Renewable energy projects expanded rapidly. Forests were replanted, and efforts to combat poverty gained unprecedented support. Even conflicts that had once seemed endless showed signs of resolution, as leaders chose dialogue over division. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it was trying, and that made all the difference. Still, there were moments of doubt. Natural disasters struck, political tensions flared, and old habits threatened to resurface. But each time, people rallied together, drawing strength from the knowledge that they had faced something greater than themselves, and prevailed. One evening, Clara stood on a hill overlooking her hometown, the lights of the city twinkling below. Ethan joined her, holding 2 cups of hot chocolate. "You think they'll come back?" he asked, nodding toward the stars. Clara shrugged, smiling softly. "Maybe. Or maybe they're out there right now, watching us from afar. Either way, I don't think we need them to tell us what to do anymore." Ethan chuckled. "True. We've got this." As they gazed up at the sky, a faint shimmer appeared among the stars. A brief flash of light that vanished almost instantly. Clara froze, her heart skipping a beat. Had she imagined it? Or was it a sign? Back aboard the Veil mothership, Captain Liam Carter watched Earth through a viewport. The planet glowed brightly against the darkness of space, its blues and greens vibrant and alive. "They're doing well," he said quietly. Olivia smiled beside him. "Better than we expected." Liam nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Let's leave them be for now. They've earned their freedom." With that, the ship turned away, disappearing into the vastness of the galaxy. But before they left, Olivia transmitted one final signal, a simple phrase embedded in Earth's satellites. Asterisk, "We'll be watching." Asterisk. Years later, humanity continued to grow and evolve. The title of most terrifying planet became a badge of honor, a testament to their ability to overcome adversity. Cities thrived, ecosystems healed, and dreams of exploring the stars grew stronger than ever. Scientists worked tirelessly to develop technology that would allow humans to venture beyond their solar system, hoping to someday meet the Veil again, or discover new civilizations. Clara eventually retired from her travels, settling down to write books about her experiences. Her words reached generations, reminding them of the day Earth proved itself to the universe. Ethan remained at her side, capturing her legacy through his lens. Though the Veil never returned, their influence lived on. Humanity had been given a chance to redefine itself, and it had risen to the occasion. The stars no longer felt so distant, and the idea of reaching them no longer seemed impossible. Underneath the endless night sky, Earth continued to shine, not because it was flawless, but because it refused to give up. And somewhere, deep in the cosmos, the Veil smiled, knowing they had made the right choice. Weeks turned into months after the Veil's departure, and life on Earth slowly returned to a sense of normalcy. Yet the impact of their visit lingered in ways no one could have. The Veil's departure left Earth in a state of both relief and reflection. People around the world were still processing what had happened, their first contact with an alien species, the challenges they had faced, and the unity they had shown in response. For Clara, the experience was far from over. She couldn't stop thinking about the message the Veil had left behind. Your fate lies in your hands. It felt like a warning, but also a gift. Ethan noticed her quiet mood as they sat together at a cafe. "You're worried," he said, stirring his coffee. "What's on your mind?" Clara hesitated before answering. "I keep wondering if we did enough. Sure, we passed their test, but does that really mean we've changed? Or are we just going to go back to the way things were?" Ethan sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Change doesn't happen overnight. But look at what we accomplished. Governments worked together. People cared about something bigger than themselves. It's a start." Clara nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right, but I think there's more we can do." That night, she opened her laptop and began drafting a plan. Using the footage she and Ethan had collected, along with interviews from scientists, activists, and ordinary citizens involved in the asteroid mission, she created a documentary. Her goal was simple: to remind humanity of its potential, not just for survival, but for greatness. The title of the project came to her quickly: Earth's Light Asterisk. Word of Clara's documentary spread quickly online. People were eager to hear her story, not just as someone who had encountered aliens, but as a voice calling for change. When the film premiered at a small theater downtown, the room was packed. As the screen flickered to life, showing images of humanity's struggles and triumphs, the audience fell silent. The documentary ended with a powerful message: "We showed the stars what we're capable of. Now it's time to show ourselves." When the credits rolled, applause erupted. Strangers hugged, tears streamed down faces, and conversations buzzed with ideas about how to keep moving forward. Clara stood at the front of the room, overwhelmed by the response. Ethan gave her a proud smile from the back of the theater. Meanwhile, aboard the Veil mothership, Captain Liam Carter watched a recording of the documentary. His expression softened as he saw the impact their visit had made. "They're already changing," he said quietly to Olivia. She nodded, her eyes shining. "And maybe that's all we could have hoped for, to plant a seed." As the ship drifted further into space, the crew debated Earth's future among the stars. Some argued that labeling the planet as most terrifying was no longer fair, while others insisted the title still fit, but for different reasons. Humanity wasn't terrifying because of its capacity for destruction. It was terrifying because of its unpredictability and limitless potential. Back on Earth, Clara continued her work. She partnered with organizations focused on solving global issues, using her newfound platform to inspire action. Schools invited her to speak, sharing her story with students who dreamed of making a difference. Even governments reached out, seeking advice on fostering international cooperation. One evening, as she walked home under a sky dotted with stars, Clara felt a strange sense of peace. She didn't know if the Veil would ever return, but she realized it didn't matter. What mattered was what humanity chose to do next. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from an unknown number. "Thank you for reminding us to believe in Earth and in yourselves. M." Clara smiled, staring up at the heavens. Whether the message was real or just wishful thinking, she couldn't say. But one thing was certain. Humanity now knew it wasn't alone in the universe, and that knowledge carried both responsibility and hope. For the first time in a long time, Clara felt confident about the future, not because everything was perfect, but because people were finally willing to try. The days following the science fair were a whirlwind for Clara and Ethan. They pored over the footage they had captured, editing it into a compelling narrative that highlighted humanity's potential for good. The video showcased students working together to solve global challenges, doctors explaining life-saving technologies, and communities coming together to rebuild after disasters. It was a story of resilience, creativity, and hope, a stark contrast to the images of war and destruction the Veil had seen before. Clara felt a mix of nerves and excitement as she prepared to share the video with Mia. She knew this might be their last chance to change the aliens' perception of Earth. When Mia arrived at the designated meeting spot, an empty warehouse on the outskirts of town, Clara handed her a small device containing the footage. "This is who we are," Clara said firmly. "Not just the bad parts, but the good too." Mia took the device, her expression unreadable. "I'll make sure they see it," she promised before disappearing into the shadows. Back aboard the mothership, Mia presented the video to Captain Liam Carter and Dr. Olivia Grant. The room fell silent as the footage played. Scenes of innovation, compassion, and unity unfolded on the screen, painting a picture of humanity that was far more complex than the Veil had initially believed. When the video ended, no one spoke for a long moment. "They're capable of so much," Olivia finally said, breaking the silence. "Look at how they work together to find solutions. Look at their determination to improve their world." Liam leaned forward, his brow furrowed in thought. "But can we trust them? Their history shows they're just as likely to destroy as they are to create." Cade, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "Maybe it's not about trusting them completely. Maybe it's about giving them a chance to prove themselves. We've seen their dark side, but now we've seen their light too." Mia nodded in agreement. "They're trying, Captain. Even when things seem hopeless, they keep pushing forward." After a long pause, Liam sighed. "All right, let's give them one final test. Something that will show us whether they're truly ready to grow, or if they're beyond saving." The next morning, people around the world woke up to another message from the Veil. This time, the glowing figure appeared not just on screens, but also projected into the sky, visible to anyone who looked up. "Humans," the voice began, "we have observed your strengths and your flaws. Now we present you with a challenge. A large asteroid is approaching your planet. It poses no immediate threat, but if left unchecked, it could devastate Earth in the future. How you respond will determine how we see you." Panic spread quickly, but so did action. Scientists, engineers, and governments worked together like never before, pooling resources and knowledge to address the threat. News outlets broadcast updates daily, showing teams building massive satellites designed to deflect the asteroid. Ordinary citizens donated money, volunteered their skills, and rallied behind the effort. Clara and Ethan watched the progress unfold, amazed by how humanity had come together. "They're doing it," Ethan said, shaking his head in disbelief. "All those divisions. They're setting them aside for this." Even the protesters who had once shouted against the Veil softened their stance, joining forces with others to support the mission. For the first time, humanity seemed united, not by fear, but by purpose. On the mothership, the Veil crew monitored the situation closely. Cade and Mia exchanged hopeful glances as they saw nations cooperating, scientists collaborating, and ordinary people stepping up to help. "This is what we needed to see," Mia whispered. When the deflection mission succeeded, applause erupted across the globe. Fireworks lit up the night sky as people celebrated not just their survival, but their ability to overcome adversity together. Captain Liam watched the celebrations from the bridge, his expression softening. "Perhaps there's hope for them yet," he murmured. Olivia smiled faintly. "Hope is something they've given us too." As the Veil prepared to leave Earth's orbit, they left behind a final message. "You are a species of contradictions, capable of great harm, but also of great good. Your fate lies in your hands. Use it wisely." For Clara, standing outside under the stars, the experience had changed everything. Humanity wasn't perfect, but maybe, just maybe, it didn't have to be. Clara sat on a park bench later that night, her mind racing as she tried to process everything Nia had told her. The alien woman hadn't revealed too much, just enough to leave Clara with more questions than answers. "We're here to observe, not interfere." Mia had said before disappearing into the shadows. But Clara couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. Why had they chosen Earth? What did they truly want? Ethan joined her moments later, his notebook in hand. "You okay?" he asked gently, sitting beside her. Clara nodded but didn't speak right away. She stared at the photos on her phone. The blurry images of Cade shimmering out of disguise, the transport pod vanishing into thin air. They were proof of something extraordinary, yet no one seemed ready to believe her fully. "We need to show them the good side of humanity," Clara said suddenly, breaking the silence. "If they think we're just dangerous or chaotic, they'll write us off." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan to do that?" "I don't know yet," Clara admitted. "But Mia mentioned they've seen our wars and destruction. Maybe if they saw the other parts of us, the kindness, the creativity, they'd understand we're worth saving." Ethan thought for a moment. "There's a big science fair happening this weekend at the university. It's all about innovation and solving problems like climate change and hunger. If we could get these aliens to see that, maybe it would change their minds." Clara's eyes lit up. "That's perfect. Let's make it happen." The next day, Clara and Ethan worked tirelessly to spread the word. They reached out to professors, students, and local media, explaining their idea without revealing too much about the veil. "We have a chance to show the world, and maybe even visitors from beyond, that humanity isn't just chaos and conflict," Ethan told a skeptical professor. Reluctantly, the professor agreed to let them film parts of the event. Meanwhile, Maya reported back to Captain Liam Carter aboard the mothership. "She wants to help," Mia explained. "She believes showing us humanity's positive traits might sway our opinion." Liam frowned, leaning back in his chair. "It's risky. Humans are unpredictable. What if this is a trap?" Olivia stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Captain, we've seen the worst of them. Isn't it fair to give them a chance to show us their best?" After a pause, Liam nodded. "Fine, but we proceed carefully. Send Cade and Mia to observe the event, but remind them to stay hidden." On the day of the science fair, the university buzzed with energy. Booths lined the halls, showcasing inventions ranging from solar-powered water purifiers to AI systems designed to predict natural disasters. Students passionately explained their projects, their faces glowing with pride. Clara and Ethan moved through the crowd, filming interviews and capturing footage. Cade and Mia watched from a distance, their holographic disguises blending seamlessly with the attendees. They marveled at the ingenuity on display. A young girl demonstrating a device that converted ocean waves into electricity, a team of engineers presenting a prototype for carbon-capturing drones. For the first time, they began to see glimpses of hope amidst humanity's flaws. As the day went on, Clara spotted Mia near a booth featuring medical advancements. Summoning her courage, she approached her. "I wanted to thank you," Clara said softly, "for trusting me." Mia smiled faintly. "You're brave, Clara. Not many humans would risk so much to help strangers." Before Clara could respond, a commotion erupted nearby. A group of protesters had arrived, holding signs that read, "No aliens," and shouting angrily about invasion and danger. Tension filled the air as security guards rushed to keep the peace. Clara turned to Mia, her expression determined. "This is why you need to see the good in us. Because despite everything, we're still trying to fix things, to be better." Mia hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right." Back aboard the mothership, Cade summarized what they'd witnessed. "They're flawed, yes, but they're also resilient. They fight for each other, even when it seems impossible." Liam listened intently, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. "Perhaps Earth deserves another chance after all." Though the decision wasn't final, one thing was clear. Humanity's fate now rested not only in the hands of the Veil, but also in its own ability to prove it was capable of greatness. When Clara arrived at the clock tower, Mia was waiting, still disguised as a human. She introduced herself cautiously, explaining that she represented beings interested in helping humanity rather than harming it. "We didn't mean to cause panic," Maya said. "But now that you know we're here, we need your help." Clara frowned, unsure whether to trust her. "Why come to me?" "Because you saw us," Maya replied simply. "And because you care enough to keep looking for the truth. That makes you special." As they talked, Ethan watched from a distance, documenting the encounter. Though nervous, he couldn't deny the significance of what was unfolding. For the first time, humans and aliens were beginning to bridge the gap between worlds, and Clara was at the center of it all. Little did anyone realize, this was just the beginning of a much larger journey, one that would test the limits of trust, courage, and understanding. The revelation of the Veil's existence sent shockwaves across Earth. News outlets buzzed with speculation. Governments held emergency meetings, and people everywhere debated whether aliens were friend or foe. Amidst the chaos, Captain Liam Carter called an urgent meeting aboard the mothership to discuss their next steps. The room was tense as the crew gathered around a holographic table displaying images of protests, conspiracy theories, and panicked crowds. "We've lost the element of surprise," Liam began, his voice firm but tinged with frustration. "Humans now know we're here. What they don't know is why. If we don't handle this carefully, fear could turn into hostility." Dr. Olivia Grant stood beside him, her expression calm but thoughtful. "Fear comes from misunderstanding. Maybe it's time we stopped observing and started communicating. Let them see who we are and why we're here." The suggestion sparked heated debate among the crew. Some argued that revealing themselves further would only escalate tensions, while others agreed with Olivia, believing transparency might ease humanity's fears. Cade Monroe, still shaken from his close call at the river, spoke up hesitantly. "I think Dr. Grant is right. Humans reacted to me because I looked different, not because I meant harm. If they understood us better, maybe they wouldn't be so afraid." Mia Collins nodded in agreement. "They're scared because they feel powerless. Showing them that we're not here to hurt them could change everything." After much deliberation, Liam made his decision. "We'll send a message, not a full reveal yet, but something to show we're not enemies." He turned to Olivia. "Prepare a transmission. Keep it simple and peaceful." Hours later, the Veil broadcast their message to every corner of Earth. Using advanced technology, they transmitted a signal that appeared on televisions, radios, phones, and even billboards worldwide. The message was short but clear. A glowing figure resembling Liam appeared, speaking in multiple human languages. "We are explorers, not invaders. We seek understanding, not conflict. Humanity has great potential, but also challenges ahead. Together, we can learn from each other." The response was mixed. While some embraced the message with relief and curiosity, others remained skeptical. Conspiracy theorists claimed it was a trick, while world leaders demanded proof of the Veil's intentions. Despite the uncertainty, one thing became clear: humanity couldn't ignore the existence of extraterrestrial life anymore. Meanwhile, Clara, the teenager who had captured footage of Cade, found herself thrust into the spotlight. Reporters swarmed her house, desperate for details about her encounter. At first, she felt overwhelmed, but soon she realized she had a unique opportunity. She reached out to Ethan Blake, a journalist known for investigating strange phenomena. Ethan was intrigued by her story and agreed to meet her. Over coffee at a quiet cafe, Clara shared everything she had seen, from the shimmering figures in the park to the mysterious pod vanishing into the sky. Ethan listened intently, asking questions and taking notes. When she showed him her photos and videos, his eyes widened. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "If what you're saying is true, humanity needs to hear it." Together, they decided to dig deeper. Ethan used his connections to track down reports of similar sightings, piecing together evidence of the Veil's presence over decades. Meanwhile, Clara continued sharing her story online, gaining followers eager to uncover the truth. Her posts caught the attention of Mia Collins, who recognized her determination and resourcefulness. One evening, Mia contacted Clara through an encrypted message. "You've done your homework," the text read. "If you want real answers, meet me tomorrow night at the old clock tower downtown." Clara stared at the screen, her heart racing. Was this a trap? Or was it her chance to finally get the answers she'd been searching for? After consulting with Ethan, she decided to take the risk. Over coffee at a quiet cafe, Clara shared everything she had seen, from the shimmering figures in the park to the mysterious pod vanishing into the sky. Ethan listened intently, asking questions and taking notes. When she showed him her photos and videos, his eyes widened. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "If what you're saying is true, humanity needs to hear it." Together, they decided to dig deeper. Ethan used his connections to track down reports of similar sightings, piecing together evidence of the Veil's presence over decades. Meanwhile, Clara continued sharing her story online, gaining followers eager to uncover the truth. Her posts caught the attention of Mia Collins, who recognized her determination and resourcefulness. One evening, Mia contacted Clara through an encrypted message. "You've done your homework," the text read. "If you want real answers, meet me tomorrow night at the old clock tower downtown." Clara stared at the screen, her heart racing. Was this a trap? Or was it her chance to finally get the answers she'd been searching for? After consulting with Ethan, she decided to take the risk. When Clara arrived at the clock tower, Mia was waiting, still disguised as a human. She introduced herself cautiously, explaining that she represented beings interested in helping humanity rather than harming it. "We didn't mean to cause panic," Maya said. "But now that you know we're here, we need your help." Clara frowned, unsure whether to trust her. "Why come to me?" "Because you saw us," Maya replied simply. "And because you care enough to keep looking for the truth. That makes you special." As they talked, Ethan watched from a distance, documenting the encounter. Though nervous, he couldn't deny the significance of what was unfolding. For the first time, humans and aliens were beginning to bridge the gap between worlds. And Clara was at the center of it all. Little did anyone realize, this was just the beginning of a much larger journey, one that would test the limits of trust, courage, and understanding. The revelation of the Veil's existence sent shockwaves across Earth. News outlets buzzed with speculation. Governments held emergency meetings, and people everywhere debated whether aliens were friend or foe. Amidst the chaos, Captain Liam Carter called an urgent meeting aboard the mothership to discuss their next steps. The room was tense as the crew gathered around a holographic table displaying images of protests, conspiracy theories, and panicked crowds. "We've lost the element of surprise," Liam began, his voice firm but tinged with frustration. "Humans now know we're here. What they don't know is why. If we don't handle this carefully, fear could turn into hostility." Dr. Olivia Grant stood beside him, her expression calm but thoughtful. "Fear comes from misunderstanding. Maybe it's time we stopped observing and started communicating. Let them see who we are and why we're here." The suggestion sparked heated debate among the crew. Some argued that revealing themselves further would only escalate tensions, while others agreed with Olivia, believing transparency might ease humanity's fears. Cade Monroe, still shaken from his close call at the river, spoke up hesitantly. "I think Dr. Grant is right. Humans reacted to me because I looked different, not because I meant harm. If they understood us better, maybe they wouldn't be so afraid." Mia Collins nodded in agreement. "They're scared because they feel powerless. Showing them that we're not here to hurt them could change everything." After much deliberation, Liam made his decision. "We'll send a message. Not a full reveal yet, but something to show we're not enemies." He turned to Olivia. "Prepare a transmission. Keep it simple and peaceful." Hours later, the Veil broadcast their message to every corner of Earth. Using advanced technology, they transmitted a signal that appeared on televisions, radios, phones, and even billboards worldwide. The message was short but clear. A glowing figure resembling Liam appeared, speaking in multiple human languages. "We are explorers, not invaders. We seek understanding, not conflict. Humanity has great potential, but also challenges ahead. Together, we can learn from each other." The response was mixed. While some embraced the message with relief and curiosity, others remained skeptical. Conspiracy theorists claimed it was a trick, while world leaders demanded proof of the Veil's intentions. Despite the uncertainty, one thing became clear: humanity couldn't ignore the existence of extraterrestrial life anymore. Meanwhile, Clara, the teenager who had captured footage of Cade, found herself thrust into the spotlight. Reporters swarmed her house, desperate for details about her encounter. At first, she felt overwhelmed, but soon she realized she had a unique opportunity. She reached out to Ethan Blake, a journalist known for investigating strange phenomena. Ethan was intrigued by her story and agreed to meet her. Cade and Mia were growing more comfortable in their roles as observers, blending into the rhythm of human life with practiced ease. But their confidence was about to be tested in a way neither of them could have anticipated. The day started like any other. They ventured into the city, careful to avoid drawing attention while gathering data on humanity's habits, behaviors, and contradictions. However, fate had other plans. It happened at a park near a riverbank. Families picnicked on blankets, joggers moved along winding paths, and children played near the water's edge. Cade and Mia sat on a bench, pretending to read books while discreetly recording interactions around them. Everything seemed normal until a sudden cry broke the peaceful atmosphere. A young boy, no older than 6, had slipped while trying to reach for a toy boat floating just out of his grasp. He tumbled into the shallow but swift-moving water, struggling to stay afloat. Panic spread quickly among the bystanders. Some shouted for help. Others hesitated, unsure of what to do. Cade didn't think, he acted. Without considering the consequences, he leaped up and ran toward the river. In his haste, he forgot one crucial detail. His holographic disguise flickered under stress. For a split second, his true form shimmered into view, a tall, slender figure with smooth, metallic skin and glowing blue eyes. The crowd gasped collectively. A teenage girl standing nearby, Clara, was the first to react. She raised her phone and snapped a picture before Cade dove into the water, disappearing beneath the surface. Seconds later, he reemerged, holding the boy securely in his arms. He carried him back to shore, where relieved parents wrapped the child in a towel and hugged him tightly. But the moment was far from over. As Cade stood dripping wet, trying to regain his composure, whispers rippled through the crowd. "What was that?" Someone asked. "Did you see him?" Another replied. People began pointing at Cade, their expressions a mix of awe and fear. Mia, realizing the situation was spiraling out of control, stepped forward. "He's just really good at swimming," she stammered, attempting to deflect suspicion. Her attempt only made things worse. Someone noticed how unnatural her movements seemed, and soon all eyes were on her too. "We need to leave now," Cade whispered urgently, grabbing Mia's arm. They pushed through the stunned crowd, moving as fast as they could without drawing further attention. Behind them, Clara followed silently, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. She had seen enough to know something extraordinary was happening, and she wasn't going to let it go. Back aboard the Veil mothership, Captain Liam Carter paced anxiously on the bridge. Reports of Cade and Mia's accidental exposure had reached him almost instantly. "This is exactly what I feared," he muttered, rubbing his temples. "If humans discover us, it could lead to chaos." Dr. Olivia Grant tried to reassure him. "They're safe for now. We'll bring them back and reassess our approach." But Liam shook his head. "It's not just about them anymore. If even one human knows we exist, word will spread. We can't risk losing control of this mission." Meanwhile, Cade and Mia returned to their transport pod, shaken but unharmed. As they prepared to ascend back to the ship, They failed to notice Clara hiding in the bushes nearby. She watched as the pod lifted off, its engine humming softly before vanishing into the sky. Her heart raced with excitement and disbelief. Aliens were real, and they were watching Earth. That night, Clara uploaded the photos and videos she captured to social media, tagging local news outlets and UFO enthusiasts. Within hours, her post went viral. Debates erupted online, with some dismissing her claims as a hoax, while others demanded answers. Governments scrambled to respond, issuing vague statements that only fueled speculation. On the mothership, Liam and Olivia monitored the growing hysteria below. "We've been compromised," Liam said grimly. "Now we have to decide whether to intervene or retreat." Olivia looked at him, her expression resolute. "If we leave now, we'll never truly understand them. And isn't that why we're here?" Liam sighed, knowing she was right. "Then we'll have to adapt. But if we stay, we play by their rules. For now." As the Veil debated their next move, humanity found itself thrust into a new era, one where the stars no longer felt so distant. And Clara, the curious teenager who had stumbled upon the truth, became an unwitting catalyst for change. By late afternoon, the pair decided to visit a museum in the heart of the city. Inside, they marveled at exhibits showcasing humanity's achievements. Ancient tools, intricate artwork, scientific breakthroughs, and technological innovations. Cade lingered near a display of space exploration, staring at a model of a rocket designed to travel beyond Earth's atmosphere. "They dream big," he admitted, a hint of admiration in his voice. "Even if they cause harm, they never stop striving for something greater." Mia smiled faintly. "That's why Captain Carter wanted us to come here. To see both sides, the light and the darkness." Just as they were about to leave the museum, a news report caught their attention. On a large screen mounted on the wall, images of famine, disease, and displacement played alongside stories of resilience and recovery. One segment featured a young doctor working tirelessly in a war-torn region, saving lives despite unimaginable odds. Another showed communities coming together after natural disasters, rebuilding homes and supporting each other. Cade felt a pang of guilt. "We've been so focused on their flaws that we almost missed their strengths." Mia placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's why we're here, to learn everything we can. Not just the bad, but the good too." As they exited the museum, they noticed a commotion down the street. A crowd had gathered around a man who appeared to be homeless, sitting on the sidewalk with a cardboard sign asking for help. Some people walked by without a second glance, while others stopped to offer food, money, or kind words. The contrast between indifference and compassion left Cade and Mia speechless. "It's like they're constantly balancing on a knife's edge," Maya said thoughtfully. "One moment they're cruel, the next they're selfless." Cade sighed, feeling the weight of their mission more than ever. If only we could figure out which side will win in the end. Little did they know, their presence was no longer a secret. Clara, the teenage girl who had spotted them earlier, had pieced together clues from her observations and online research. She was now following them discreetly, determined to uncover the truth. As she snapped another photo of the duo from a distance, she whispered to herself, "Who are you? And why are you here?" Her curiosity would soon lead to a confrontation neither side was prepared for. The next morning, Cade and Mia returned to the town, this time venturing closer to areas where human activity was more intense. They wanted to see beyond the surface-level interactions they'd observed the day before. Their goal was to dig deeper into humanity's darker tendencies, hoping to understand what made Earth such a complex and potentially dangerous planet. Their first stop was an industrial zone on the outskirts of the city. Smokestacks loomed overhead, spewing thick gray clouds into the sky. The air smelled acrid, and the noise from machinery was deafening. Workers in bright orange vests moved about, their faces grim as they operated heavy equipment. Cade and Mia watched silently, noting how humans seemed willing to endure harsh conditions for the sake of progress or profit. "This is what we read about in the reports," Maya said, her voice barely audible over the din. They exploit their resources without thinking of the consequences. Cade nodded, his eyes narrowing as he studied the scene. It's like they're rushing forward without looking back. Do they not realize they're destroying their own home? As they continued exploring, they stumbled upon a protest. A large group of people had gathered outside a factory, holding signs that read "Protect our planet" and "Stop pollution now." Some chanted slogans, while others argued heatedly with security guards blocking the entrance. It was a clash of ideals, those fighting to preserve the environment versus those defending economic growth. Mia pulled out her wrist console, recording the event. "At least some of them care," she said, her tone hopeful. "Maybe there's a chance for change." But hope quickly turned to unease when they later visited a military base. Through binoculars, they observed rows of tanks, fighter jets, and soldiers training with weapons far deadlier than anything they'd seen so far. What shocked them most, though, was footage playing on a nearby screen inside a command center. It showed explosions, destruction, and countless lives lost in conflicts around the world. Cade swallowed hard, lowering the binoculars. How can they create such beauty and then destroy it just as easily? He asked, his voice trembling. Mia didn't answer right away. Instead, she focused on the humans themselves, the soldiers laughing together during breaks, sharing meals, or writing letters home. Even in the midst of preparing for war, they displayed moments of kindness and connection. "It's complicated," she finally said. "They're capable of love and hate, creation and destruction. That duality makes them unpredictable." Cade and Mia moved cautiously through the dense forest, their holographic disguises blending seamlessly with the surroundings. The air was thick with the smell of pine and damp soil, and every step they took seemed to echo louder than it should. Though they had been trained for this mission, nothing could fully prepare them for the reality of setting foot on an alien planet, especially one as unpredictable as Earth. As they emerged from the trees, the landscape opened up into a small town. Houses lined the streets, smoke curled lazily from chimneys, and children laughed as they played in yards. Cade stopped for a moment, taking it all in. "It's peaceful," he said, his voice tinged with surprise. Mia nodded but kept her eyes scanning the area. "Don't let the surface fool you. We've seen what they're capable of." The two began walking down the sidewalk, careful to mimic human behavior. They passed a cafe where people sat sipping coffee and chatting animatedly. A man waved at them, mistaking them for locals, and they quickly returned the gesture, hoping it looked natural. So far, no one suspected anything unusual. Their first stop was a bustling marketplace. Stalls overflowed with fresh produce, handmade crafts, and colorful fabrics. Vendors shouted prices, trying to attract customers, while shoppers haggled over costs. To Cade and Mia, it was both fascinating and overwhelming. Humans were so expressive, their emotions written clearly on their faces. One moment someone would laugh, the next they'd argue passionately, their voices rising in frustration. "Look at how they interact," Mia whispered, watching a group of friends sharing jokes. "They're so connected, yet so volatile." Cade nodded, jotting notes on his wrist console. "And look at these creations." He pointed to a stall selling intricate carvings and paintings. "They turn raw materials into art. It's impressive." But not everything they observed was positive. As they wandered further, they came across a newsstand displaying newspapers with alarming headlines: wars, political scandals, environmental disasters. Cade picked up one of the papers, skimming through the articles. His brow furrowed as he read about conflicts fueled by greed and hatred. "This is why we were warned about them," he murmured. Mia glanced around nervously. "We need to keep moving. Observing isn't enough. We have to understand why they do these things." Later that evening, they found themselves near a schoolyard. Children chased each other, shouting and laughing, while parents watched from nearby benches. For a brief moment, Cade allowed himself to relax. "Maybe there's hope for them," he said softly. These kids seem innocent enough. But even here, signs of humanity's darker side appeared. Two boys argued over a toy, their voices escalating until one shoved the other to the ground. The fallen boy cried out, tears streaming down his face. Before anyone could intervene, another child stepped forward, offering a hand to help him up. Cade and Mia exchanged glances, unsure whether to feel despair or hope. As night fell, the pair made their way back to the edge of town. They had gathered hours of footage and data, but their minds were still reeling from what they'd witnessed. Humanity was a paradox, a species capable of breathtaking beauty and horrifying cruelty. "We'll need more time," Maya said finally, breaking the silence. "One day isn't enough to understand them." Cade agreed, though unease lingered in his chest. "Let's just hope we don't get caught before we figure it out." Unbeknownst to them, someone had noticed their presence earlier that day. A teenage girl named Clara, who often explored the woods behind her house, had spotted strange lights in the sky and followed them curiously. She hadn't seen Cade and Mia clearly, but she knew something, or someone, wasn't right. With her phone in hand, she snapped a blurry picture of the transport pod disappearing into the trees. Clara stared at the image, her heart racing. Whatever was happening, she was determined to find out more. Little did she know, her discovery would set off a chain of events that neither humans nor aliens could have anticipated. The sky above Earth was unusually clear that day, almost as if the planet itself knew something extraordinary was about to happen. High above the atmosphere, a massive alien spacecraft descended silently, its sleek metallic surface glinting faintly in the sunlight. The ship was enormous, dwarfing even the largest human-made structures. To anyone watching from below, it would have looked like a second moon hovering ominously in the sky. Inside the spacecraft, Captain Liam Carter stood at the helm of the bridge, his sharp blue eyes scanning the monitors displaying images of Earth. He was a tall man with short brown hair and a calm demeanor that inspired confidence among his crew. Beside him stood Dr. Olivia Grant, the mission's scientific advisor. Her curly auburn hair framed her face, and her green eyes sparkled with curiosity as she studied the data streaming in from their sensors. Together, they led a team of explorers sent by the Veil, an advanced interstellar federation known for cataloging planets across the galaxy. This mission was different, though. Earth wasn't just another planet to be studied. It was a mystery. For years, the Veil had detected strange signals emanating from this tiny blue dot. The signals were chaotic, filled with bursts of emotion and fragmented messages. It was unlike anything they'd encountered before. Now, after centuries of observation from afar, they had finally decided to make contact, or at least observe up close. "Captain," said one of the crew members, breaking the silence, "we're receiving detailed scans now. The biodiversity on this planet is incredible. Billions of life forms, but one species dominates: humans." Liam nodded thoughtfully. "Humans," he repeated softly, as if testing the word on his tongue. "They're the ones responsible for those signals, aren't they?" Olivia leaned forward, her fingers flying over the control panel. "Yes, but there's more. Look at this." She pointed to a screen showing images of sprawling cities, vast oceans, and dense forests. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, yet they've managed to alter their environment drastically. And these, she hesitated, pulling up footage of wars, pollution, and destruction. "These actions are unprecedented. No other species we've encountered has caused such widespread damage to its own home." Liam frowned, his expression darkening. "It sounds like we're dealing with a dangerous species. Are you sure this is wise?" "It's not our place to judge," Olivia replied firmly. "Our job is to understand. If we label them as a threat without evidence, we risk making the same mistakes others have made in the past." As the discussion continued, the ship moved closer to Earth, positioning itself carefully in orbit. Below, life went on as usual. People drove to work, children played in parks, and scientists conducted experiments in labs. None of them had any idea that they were being watched by beings far more advanced than themselves. Back on the bridge, Liam gave the order to deploy a small reconnaissance team. 2 members were selected: Cade Monroe, a linguist skilled in deciphering unknown languages, and Mia Collins, a cultural analyst trained to interpret societal behaviors. Both were briefed on the mission's objectives: to gather information discreetly and avoid direct contact at all costs. Cade adjusted his holographic disguise, which transformed him into a middle-aged man with glasses and a slight paunch. Beside him, Mia shimmered into the form of a young woman with long black hair and casual clothing. They stepped into the transport pod, ready to descend to the surface. As the pod descended through the atmosphere, Cade couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and unease. "Do you think they'll notice us?" he asked quietly. Mia smiled reassuringly. "Not if we're careful. Besides, humans are so focused on their own lives that they rarely look up." Moments later, the pod touched down in a secluded forest, hidden from prying eyes. Cade and Mia stepped out, taking their first breaths of Earth's air. The scent was earthy and alive, unlike the sterile environment of their ship. Around them, birds chirped, leaves rustled, and the wind carried whispers of a world teeming with life. "This is it," Cade whispered, looking around in awe. "Let's see what humanity is really made of." And with that, the two began their journey into the heart of a planet that would soon earn a reputation unlike any other in the galaxy.